Hi everyone, welcome to week 3 in English 97. I hope that your Essay 1 drafts went okay and that you're not too worried about how we're going to kind of fix and rearrange these. I know the class moves a little quickly, but if you're not in love with this first essay, don't worry. We will do others that you can kind of include in your portfolio. I did also want to remind you all, unfortunately, I had to reschedule the Success Center visit that we had scheduled for Thursday the 27th, and so it is now going to be February 3rd, the Thursday of week 3 from 11:30 to 11:45. Just someone from the Success Center kind of going on online resources for you, going through the online writing lab, making sure that you're aware of the resources that SWIC has available. So if you are here and free to attend, the link will be on Blackboard, and I am offering extra credit for doing so. So otherwise, let's get started with week 3. So your essay drafts were due Sunday. This week is going to focus on revising and editing Essay 1. So these are usually 2 steps that may take a lot of time. Ideally, I would kind of separate them into different steps, do the revising first and then the editing. Don't try and do them all at once because you'll get a little confused. And also keep in mind, we will have time at the end of the semester to revise these essays again. So if they don't end up perfect at the end of this week, please don't worry. All right, so assignments this week. You do have some readings for me. There is a example experience essay called Escape on page 39 I would like you to read, and then revision pages 12 through 18 and editing pages 24 through 28. There are exercises in these pages I really strongly encourage you to do on your own. It'll help you in kind of practicing the assignments that we're working toward, and I don't necessarily collect those at this point, although if you think it'd be helpful, maybe I will. But I do really encourage you to go through the textbook and do those exercises. It will help, I promise. Discussion board 3 is going to be focused on escape and then on revising and editing. And then your essay 1 final draft, this will be kind of the revised, edited version, is going to be due this coming Sunday. So let's talk about just some ideas to think about as you revise and edit. In this essay, we are talking about an experience that hasn't had an impact on you, right? Some experience that's changed you as a person. So a few ideas to keep in mind. Do I have a clear thesis? Is my main point the impact of this experience? Is it clear throughout? Is there enough description and details? Is the beginning of my essay interesting for my reader? And then finally, does my conclusion focus on the impact of that experience? So sometimes it might help to just take these questions one by one. And if you answer no to any of these, then that's where you want to focus on revising. I'm going to give you guys just some general advice that I want you to focus on for this essay, but you know yourself, you know your writing. So what we're going to try and do is also identify specifically what do you individually need help with, all right? And that's going to differ for everyone. What I struggle with in my writing and what you do is going to be different because we're different people. So in general, we're going to talk about a few tips to keep in mind. When you're revising, for this essay in particular, I want you to focus on providing a lot of good description. So many of you are doing this already, and I love to see it. So we're going to talk about how to kind of add more if you're feeling like your draft is too short. If you're like, I just can't think of what else to say. What do I say? Well, we're going to do an example here that's going to walk you through putting yourself in the shoes of your reader. All right? So I'm going to read this example. It's actually from our text. It's an example paragraph about a quinceañera. And what I'm going to do is read this, and I want you to think about areas or parts that could use more description. Is there anything that's missing? All right. So it says, I'll never forget my quinceañera party. My court of friends looked wonderful, and I wore a white gown that made me feel like a princess. Our backyard was turned into a wonderland, and lanterns flickered in the trees like fireflies. For one night, I was the center of attention, which made me feel special. I'll never forget dancing with my father, the changing of the shoes, or the delicious food. It was all a dream, and the look on my mother's face said everything. Sounds like a great party, huh? So, something I would do if I'm revising this, if this is my draft, what I'm going to do is ask questions like I'm the reader, all right? So, I'm going to show you an example of what I mean. So here, I'm going to ask myself, I'm going to go sentence by sentence, and then I put questions in the text. So I'm actually forcing myself to kind of go sentence by sentence. So I said, I'll never forget my quinceañera party. In parentheses, I put, when was the party? Do I need to explain what a quinceañera is? Because maybe not everyone knows. My court of friends looked wonderful, and I wore a white gown that made me feel like a princess. I think what's missing is what were my friends wearing? Were they excited? What were they feeling? These are things I could add, right? And then coming down, I think where they say, I'll never forget dancing with my father, the changing of the shoes, or the delicious food. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Slow down a minute. Why is dancing with my father so special? What's the changing of the shoes? As someone outside of the culture that celebrates quinceañeras, maybe I don't know. And then also, what kind of food was there? I love food, so please talk to me about the food. And then finally, can I describe the look on my mother's face? So if I go then to answer these questions, what I'm doing is adding a lot more description, adding a lot more depth to my writing. All right. So asking questions is a great way to add more length. If you feel like your essay is too short, I want you to pause here. Pause. Go do this. You'll be surprised. Alrighty. The next thing I wanted to mention was paragraphing. So this was something I talked about in our video for last week, but something to continue thinking about is, are your ideas separated enough that your reader can follow? So in this short paragraph, I actually noticed several different ideas that could be split up and then added to. And this also adds length and depth. So I decided to separate this by, first, they kind of describe what everyone was wearing, kind of what everything looked like. Then they could maybe start a new paragraph talking about how it made them feel. Why was being the center of attention so important? Why is that something that they wanted to focus on? And then the dancing with my father, the changing of the shoes, the food, I separated that because I feel like those are all aspects of sort of the cultural piece to the quinceañera, and I think that that could really be a paragraph all its own. And then finally, I think describing this kind of like how it was a dream could be a really nice way to end. So if you're feeling like your ideas are kind of all crashing together, see if you can ask yourself, okay, where am I starting a new idea? Although it's related, could I separate these out? And don't worry, I'll give you feedback on your drafts and hopefully get you thinking about these. But paragraphs is something that we'll kind of practice as we go. All right, so that is revising. What now I want to focus on is editing. So I would like you guys to do your revision first. Okay, start with your ideas, your big picture. What do I want to move around, add, take out, change? Do that first. Then give it a day. Take a step away. Don't come back to it until 2 days later, because you want your brain to be in a new kind of mindset. You want to have fresh eyes, I like to say. And editing is where you go sentence by sentence and you ask yourself, okay, is my punctuation correct? Is my spelling looking good? Am I missing any capitalization? Do I need a quotation mark here? This is really minute, very like detailed work. So sometimes it can be very tiring and it takes time. I want you to allow yourself to take time. Don't wait until the last minute, because editing is where a lot of us struggle, okay? And if you do need help, I'm going to link some more resources about this topic in particular. So the reading for your textbook is talking about run-on sentences, which are essentially two sentences that have been smushed together without proper punctuation, okay? So there's an example on this slide here. It says, I hate this movie, comma, it's so boring. So what you'll notice is that this is two sentences. I hate this movie, it's so boring. But they've been mashed together with only a comma. This is incorrect. This is called a run-on sentence. What it does is it can make your writing feel rambly and feel like you're just going on and on and on without having a clear idea. So you can do a few things to correct this, and we're going to go over some of those options. So you'll see here, you could separate it by saying, I hate this movie because it's so boring. I could add that coordinating conjunction because, or I could separate it with a period. I hate this movie, period. It's so boring. One thing I want you to notice, there is no comma before because or after it. There is no comma near that because. You never use a comma with because. I don't know why many of my students do and have been taught to, but if that's something that you do kind of without thinking, see if you can start to work on that habit. Okay, so if you find yourself with a lot of run-on sentences, and the pages in your textbook on editing, I actually am going to have you guys do this exercise. So this is page 27. So this is part of your readings. Don't skip this exercise because it'll really help you when you're editing your own essay. So I'm just going to run you through a couple different options for fixing it. So this example has this sentence that says, global warming is caused by the industrial and automotive emissions that remain in the atmosphere, comma, these gases trap the sun's heat, gradually raising temperatures. So what this is, from global warming to atmosphere, this is one sentence. From these to temperatures, that's another sentence. But again, what we've done is we've smushed them together with only a comma. That's incorrect. So I can do a couple things to fix this run-on. I can separate the sentences, put a period, and then capitalize my next sentence. I can use a semicolon. Don't use these too often, but usually if they're like related ideas. And then finally, I can use a comma and what we call a coordinating conjunction. And, but, or, so. What you'll notice is there is a comma before and. All right, if there's no comma here, that's incorrect. So remember, commas with and, but, so, or, because, no comma. All right, you remember these things, I promise your writing will get stronger. So I actually have a video that I'm not going to play in here, but I will post to our course to help you kind of look at run-on sentences in more depth. If you feel like this is something that you particularly struggle with, I recommend taking some time to really focus on it. And again, if you're like, I have a hard time kind of seeing these mistakes in my writing, I have a few tips. Read your paper out loud. I know it sounds awkward, but I'm serious. Take your paper, hold it out in front of you and go, one night toward the end of May. What you'll find is that as you hear it, you'll hear mistakes that you're making. Have someone else read it. Not just me, a friend, a partner, a coworker. Have someone else kind of see if they can help you out. Or go to the Success Center. That's the whole point of our course, is sort of identifying where you're struggling and then going to use the resources you have available to help you. All right? So I'm looking forward to seeing how revising and editing goes. I know this is not the easiest process, but I am confident that you guys will get better at it as we go. Okay? So if you have questions, please let me know, and I will talk to you guys soon.